closing the interview, this is really, really important. You know, you've put your best foot forward, you've, you know, been on fire for the whole interview. And then it comes to the end and they ask you if you have any questions. And sometimes you've run out of speed at that point and your mind has gone blank. So that's where it's really important to, again, have 3 or 4 kind of key questions prepared ahead of time. Examples could be if they mention a little bit around maybe training. Let's say they mentioned that there's going to be training for the role. You could ask them a little bit more about when does the training kick in or what's involved in that.
For sure, yeah.
What would the role be like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? What would be expected of me? How big is the team? You know, is the team all based in the one office? Simple little things. Keep it very simple and straightforward, but do have a few prepared beforehand.
And of course, when I think about it, Eimear, now that at the moment people are working from home, the usual questions that you would have thought, like, you know, how many people are in the office? You know, there's the next one. Well, you know, when do you hope to be, you know, back in the office? Will you be back in the office?
Exactly, that's a really good question. Or how do you manage kind of remotely? What software do you use? Things like that. So it's questions that are genuinely of interest to you. You don't have to make it tricky. You don't have to start asking them about their balance sheets or anything like that. Just keep it really simple, kind of information you want to know. But definitely have a couple of them pre-prepared because you will be a little bit tired at that point of the interview. Be ready to discuss your salary, your notice period, and your availability to start. Now, this won't always happen in every interview, but it is important that you're ready to kind of start that conversation. You don't want to set the bar too low. You don't want to set the bar too high. The one bit of advice I will give is that you need to be honest. So when you're starting a new role, a company is going to see your P45, so you can't lie about your salary. However, if they're just asking you kind of give or take what are you looking for in terms of salary, you can say that you're currently on a package of 60,000 and I'm looking obviously to see an increase on that. If they ask for specifics, you kind of need to give them the specifics. Notice period and availability to start is also quite important. If you're competing with somebody who has a 3-month notice and maybe you only have 1 month notice, the fact you're able to start sooner than that person may actually swing in your advantage. So little things like that also help. It's also okay to ask about the next step in the process and when you can get feedback. And the important part is to get the feedback. So sometimes people feel that that they're not entitled to it. You are. If you've given an hour of your time and probably 3 or 4 or 5 hours preparing, the least a company can do is provide you with some feedback. So even if you're not successful, you can take that feedback on board and therefore use it for a further interview.
And when do you ask for feedback? You know, in the interview, later on, in a kind of a post email, what do you think?
Yeah. So I would ask them in the interview when they expect to have the process wrapped up, or maybe what's the next step in the process. I wouldn't ask for feedback there and then. That's kind of putting them on the spot a little bit. So if they tell you the interview process is going to take 2 weeks, I would start chasing them kind of after those 2 weeks. Email, phone call, don't hang them, but do get in touch and ask, can you get some feedback, or, you know, can they give you a little bit more information as to how you performed. The last point seems a little bit easy, but it is really important. If you feel the interview went well and you want the job, tell them that. Thank them for their time and tell them that you're really excited about this opportunity. It's an opportunity that you feel you'd be very successful in. You know, you can really add value to their business, and you'd be really keen to progress to the next stage. Your lasting impression is as important as the first impression.
As the first one, sure.
Exactly, would say that. Even though it kind of feels a little bit uncomfortable and cheesy, I would definitely hammer it home at the end that you really want this job.